What's up, Scott? How are you today? Thank you so much for joining us. We actually had this conversation at a manager meeting less than 2 days ago, and I was like, we got to make this on a video. This topic is one where I don't want it just to hear it for the guys in the room. I want it to be something that we hold on to. So thank you so much for sharing and opening up. And we're excited to hear the message again. But then anybody that missed it, that's why we make these videos.
Yeah, thanks. It's an important message, and I think it's a business skill set we all need to have, which is knowing how to recruit, knowing how to hire, knowing how to onboard, doing it professionally. It's just I don't think it's a skill set that many business owners possess. They're really good at it when they start a company, and then they get busy into the operations of the company, and then all of a sudden someone leaves or quits or gets fired, and they're just like they don't know what to do or how to recruit or hire. And so we want this to be forefront of our managers' names or managers' thoughts going forward.
Yeah, and one thing that you're going to talk about in the conversation, since I was able to hear it my second time around, I'm able to kind of quote it now, is that I love what you said is that you cannot fire if you cannot hire. And
Yeah.
that's a cornerstone of our business is to become better, to work on our personnel. But if we cannot let someone go because of their, let's say their shortcomings or they're not right cultural fit, if we can't replace them, we have to keep them. And then when that ends, it ruins the vision of our company if we cannot let them go. And so if you can't hire someone, you can't fire someone if you can't hire someone. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for you to unpack this, and it's gonna be a good
Well,
talk.
Dan, it ruins the vision, but it ruins the culture.
Mm,
And you're just like, it's all I can have, and he's better than nobody. And
sure.
that's such a victim mentality. And we really want to empower our managers to say, hey, we're always
Yeah.
going to be interviewing, we're always looking, we're always trying to upgrade our team. And so
Yeah.
yeah, go through this presentation and really unpack it. There's a lot going on here, so we're excited
Awesome.
about it.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Um, hey, we've done this seminar. We call hiring seminars, and H and Dan and I have done them, and over the years, and we've always asked people, hey, what is it you want in a company? And it's been quite interesting. And I've helped people who are unemployed looking for jobs, and we'll just sit there with a whiteboard and say, hey, write down everything you want, whether it's going to be there or not. And I'll share with you some of their notes and ideas, and it's pretty much.
Oh yeah, this was cool. This is a great slide. Are
See
you?
here.
Yep. There we go.
Okay, so what is it you want from a company? Well, let's go back 1 second, Dan. First of all, a good premise to start is do people really want to work at a car wash or a fast food restaurant or a C-store? And once that was an important question, because the reality is nobody wants to work at a car wash or a fast food restaurant or a good C-store, but they all want to work for a great company that has great benefits, right? And they
Mm,
don't care what it is we do. And so they all want to work for Watershed or Chick-fil-A or the Ritz-Carlton, right? We want to work
yeah.
for a great company. And then it's like, well, what do? Well, we pump gas, or we sell hotel rooms, or we wash cars.
Mm,
And after people have worked for us for a while, it always is like, oh yeah, by the way, we wash cars. They forget about it because they love the culture, they love the career plan, they love where we're heading. Makes sense.
yeah.
So I like that premise because we need to understand that when people come in, it's like, oh, this is great. I mean, very few people, maybe besides Scott Oxman, really love car washing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um,
Yep.
and so it's a neat premise to start with. But what do you want in a company? This idea, here's the list of names of things people wanted in a company. Hey, they wanted hey, if I can work for a company with competitive salaries, with stock options, with bonuses, a company that's going to educate me. Hey, why not? Hey, if I can get a car allowance, wouldn't that be great? Right? I'll
Mm,
get a company that's going to invest in me. So all of these words, it doesn't matter what we put down, but it all leads us to, if we took all those words and we kind of combined them into three distinct categories, all of that really comes down to it's fair compensation is really what we want. A company
yeah.
that compensates us fairly for our efforts and where we're at today. A company that has a career development plan, a company that's growing and has a plan for me. There's nothing worse than working for a company and you're just a number in a company and there's no growth development plan. So that's very important for people to know there's a career development. And then the number one thing is they want to work for a culture that's exciting, that's friendly, that has integrity. That's very, very important. If any of these things are lacking, you're more apt to leave a company. But if all
Mm,
three of these are there, So as we're in the process of hiring, recruiting, you need to understand what everyone wants in a company. So as you're going down this interview process and you're looking to make your team better, especially in the interview process, all we really need to talk about is, let me tell you about this company and their compensation program. Let me talk to you about the career development, and we can hold up you can hold up your career plan, which rolls through page after page after page. If you see this in the interview, you're more apt to join Watershed, because all the interviews these guys have done in the past, it's not going to be there, right?
Yeah.
No one's sitting up there and say, hey, we have a plan for you, join our. It's just like, oh, this is what you're doing today. I don't know if there's a plan. We talked to an employee here, Dan. His wife worked for Walmart, and she was doing the same job she was years later, and she got a 25-cent raise, but there's no career plan. That's for one of the largest retailers in the world, right? And so
Yeah.
Dan and H and Justin have spent a tremendous amount of time building this career plan. And how often is it you should be getting raises? Every 4 to 6 months, 7 months?
Yeah, 4 to 6 months. Yep. At the 6 month mark, you're eligible for your next promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want you to understand those are the three things that, as people come in to talk to you, keep it on those three topics. Is that how you would
So
do
you're
an interview?
so you're saying when you're doing an interview, you have to be hitting those three marks, because if you're missing on one of the marks, like whether it's just compensation, they might be like, well, I might not want to work here. This isn't really the right environment. Or what do you think about my future? Or if it's just paying you today. So you're saying
Yeah.
when we are at Watershed, we are sharing this, informing the applicant of who we are. We have to hit on all three elements.
Yeah. Who's Watershed, man? Let me tell you about this company and why I'm here. Man, I
Yeah.
love the compensation. We have all kinds of from bonuses to sales bonuses, uh, car allowances, cell phone
Sure.
allowances, all of that is there. We have a great career plan. I mean, look at this thing. This thing is
Yeah.
yours day one when you sign up. And then, man, what excites me is our culture. I mean, it's got a family reunion like experience. You will meet some of the best friends you'll ever have at this
Mm.
company, which was really surprising. I did not think I'd join a car wash, and all of a sudden, you know,
And I think with the evidence that over the last 14 years that this company has been doing this, or 13, 14 years, it's hard to, it's always moving.
yeah,
The one thing that's shown is that our company has shown to be those things: the culture, the people, and then the personal testimonies of growth in the company, including myself, who started at CSR and then moved through the company. And so I just think that it takes time to show those things, and as when we're doing interviews, we have to kind of relay that message and be excited for it and the champion for it. And that's where I think interviewing changes, when you have someone who's not feeling those things and they try to interview to sell someone to join our company, and they're like, I don't really know if I feel this way.
yeah.
It's interesting.
And there's one other component besides fair compensation and career development and culture. There's one other element above all of that, that is the work we're doing important. Nowadays,
Mm,
kids want to join a company that's doing important work for the community. And
yeah.
our job is to share our stories, why our customers use our product. And it could be they just have a dirty car, but there could be another reason why they want their car clean. And if we approach it from a different avenue, a different perspective, we've spent a lot of time this year talking about perspective. It's pretty powerful that a lot of people do not get a smile all day. So they come to the
Mm-hmm.
Watershed, they're getting a smile. They're getting a
Mm-hmm.
well-run product. They also might be using their car to go out, take clients out for lunch, or take their bosses out, or go on their first date with their wife, and they're going to want to clean their car in preparation for their first date. Right? I had a guy
Yeah.
here the time I was talking to. He like, what's going on this weekend? And he goes, I'm proposing to my
Mm-hmm.
wife today, and
And
he wanted
he
his
wanted
car
a clean
clean.
car.
And so
Yeah.
it just made me feel great that we could be part of that preparation day, just like you might
Yeah.
press your shirt or buy a new outfit for a big meeting. We always want our car clean before a certain day, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, that's cool.
be aware of that and go out there and talk to your customers. I don't know if Dan, if you've got any stories around that, but Chick-fil-A kind of put that on our radar
Yeah.
years ago. I don't know if you want to talk about that story or the Chick-fil-A video.
Yeah, the Chick-fil-A video, actually, I'm gonna cut to it right now. And this video is one of my favorite videos because it's so true. You're serving chicken, but yet you actually you're having this common place where people can meet and eat with their family, or maybe it's grandparents eating with a grandchild, and maybe the grandchild
Yeah,
lost their parent, and like everyone has a story in life. And I think when we eliminate the perspective that people have their own story, that we just become, we're just serving chicken. Who cares what we're doing? We're just washing cars. Who cares?
Yeah.
But once you have the feeling of, wait, we're connected with this person deeper than just serving chicken or just washing their car. It actually puts a lot of purpose to what we do in comparison to just, I don't know, I'm just being working at a car wash. Like that does feel pretty empty until you start
Yeah.
thinking deeper than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that video is a game changer for me to look at our customers from a different avenue. And the work we're doing is important work for the community. And it's also important work if you're in management and leadership, which you guys are, to develop your staff. Why are people working here? Where they want someone that's going to work with them and develop them, help them grow, help them move up in their career plan, and you're the right person for it. So we
Yeah.
think the work is very, very important, not only for our team, our culture, but also for the community. Um, let's shift gears, Dan, to you're now about to interview people, and we have there's a lot of videos, a lot of training out there on the 20-70-10 model. And if you haven't heard it, it's fine. But the 20-70-10 has how we evaluate our current staff. And the reason we do this before we're interviewing is we're
Mm,
always trying to upgrade our team. If you remember the 20 percenters, we always say who people who are saying, hey, I declare I want to be part of Watershed till I retire, which is great, or I love it, or this is the best thing I've got going now, and I'm excited to be part of it. And that's great. And the 70 percenters have the same mentality, but they just don't know. They might be in college. They might be, this is a part-time job for them, or meaning I'm not sure where I'm going to be in the future, but while I'm here, I'm going to give 100% effort. I have a great attitude. Every now and again, we have what we call these 10 percenters, people with bad attitudes. They're always calling out on Saturday morning. They're just,
yeah.
they blow through the checklist as fast as they can. And you just know who they are. And so
Mm,
I tell you that because if you do have a 10 percenter on your team today, as you start getting 10, 15, 20 people to come in to interview with you, we are not looking for the best person out of the 10 that we're interviewing. We're looking to see, is this person interviewing better than our 10 percenter, or will they make our team better? And so I want us
mm,
to evaluate people with this idea of 20-70-10. Anyone that comes on, will they make our team better? Because we can hire multiple people at a time. A lot of companies say, well, I had to hire this person because it was the best of the three that came in. And that's a bad hiring mentality. Yeah, Mark and I and Craig and I, we would interview maybe upwards of 100 people and select two or three. We were looking for the best team member that we think was going to come in. Again, you don't know in the 30-minute interview
nope.
how great
Never
they're going
do.
to be, but do they have energy? Do they have a good attitude? You know exactly who these people are. But if they're tired and they're lazy and you just know, it's like, man, I don't know if they're going to be better. They're not
Mm,
likable. Don't just grab the lowest hanging fruit. Really find people that are going to make your team better. Okay.
okay.
And you don't know. I mean, it's like you hire people and they become all stars, and you think all stars and they become duds. You never know at the end of the
You
day. It's
never
always
know.
a roll of the dice. Um, but I just want you to be in your thought process. Is this person going to make our team better? And before you get into interviewing, we have to
Yeah.
ask, are you interested in people? It's very, very important. People who are doing the interviews are interested in people, and you're peppering people with questions about where they're from and what they do and what their favorite job was and their best manager. It's like, be interested in people. And I
Mm,
see so many people who are they're interested in telling the Watershed story, or they're interested in telling about their management, but they ask one question, where are you from? And then the rest of the interview becomes us giving a monologue. And we have to be very,
mm.
very careful of that. Very dangerous.
Because the goal is to find out about the applicant, right?
Yeah.
And how they fit with us, not just, hey, this is who we are. Are you going to fit in? It's more like, wait, let me find out who you are, and then let's see how this meshes with our company and what we stand for.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you won't know that if you don't ask questions.
Yeah, you're right. And then the other thing is, Dan, we have to be compassionate for the unemployed. And it's a hot button for me. It's like, these
Me too.
people are coming in tomorrow to interview. Think about, man, they're hoping they get a job. They need a job. I've had people tell me, man, I drove by your location to make sure I knew exactly how to get there. I knew the meeting was at 10. I left at 9. I didn't want to be late. I've been
Yeah.
waiting in the parking lot. And once I started hearing these stories, I got really compassionate, because it's really important for them to put their best foot forward,
Yeah.
right? But if we show
Yeah,
up
that's
and we're
good.
not compassionate for the unemployed, it's not a good sign. And I've been on their side of the where I've put resumes out and applications, and I never get callbacks, or I go to an interview and I never hear back again, or you go to an interview and
Mm,
they're not ready for you, and it's just like it's depressing, right?
mm.
And it's hard being without a job, and so be
Yeah.
compassionate for the unemployed.
Yeah, and you actually called me out on this years ago. You and I were interviewing at the market, and this guy came in with a kind of a wrinkly shirt, had a stain on it, I think, and I was like, "We're definitely not hiring that guy." And you said, and I'll never forget it, like, Dan, that could be his best shirt that he has, and like he might be, 3 months out of the job and needs work more than you ever know. And I think that's what happens is like since we are managers and we're employed and we're making money and we start to lose that feeling of what it looked like to be in those shoes and feeling desperate for a job. And I think what happens is that we get kind of callous to like, oh, I would only hire the best or the most refined. It's like, I don't know, we
Yeah,
forget quickly, don't we?
yeah. No, so
Yeah,
I think it's a great point to remember.
that's
Um,
good.
so be compassionate for people.
Mm,
Let's talk, Dan, about the actual interviewing process. One thing is we should know when people come in. I love this idea of the group interviews, Dan.
yeah,
Um, we have a ton of training on it. We have notes to say, but a group interview is anywhere from more than one person. So I've done them with one person, which is one-on-ones, and then you can go all the way up to 7 or 8 or 9 people if you have enough space and chairs for it. But the idea of group interviews is not really an interview as much as an informational meeting where you're holding an informational meeting once a week, every 2 weeks, about your company, your site, what you're looking for. And it's very leveraged time for our staff, right? So if you just knew at 10 o'clock every Tuesday, you're going to invite interviews to come down, be with you at that time. You
yeah,
could then go through go real quick. Everyone in the room could tell us where you're from, where you were born. Dan's got a whole bunch of trainings on group interviews. We won't spend time there, but the idea of having a set time to do first interviews all the time, right? And
yeah,
one thing, go back one point, Dan, is we really want the person who loves the company the most to be the champion for it. So in the early days, we had probably 5 or 6 sites. It was Mark and I, Craig and I doing all the first interviews. We did them all. We wanted to meet the people. We wanted to vet them out. We wanted to talk to them. And then from there, we selected who got sent for second interviews. All second interviews would go down and meet with Vince. Those would be one-on-one interviews. They would be 30, 40 minutes long. Vince would walk them around the property, show them what actually it is to work at the car wash industry. They might work with another manager at that point. And I'm a big fan of 2 or 3 interviews if you could do it, but it
yeah,
has to be a phone interview would be the first one if you did that. Nowadays, I think we're sending out text messages, so people are showing up to their first experience is could be a group interview, and then your second and third would be one-on-ones with your site manager.
yeah.
And the flip of that, Dan, is we're letting brand new employees who just got promoted to assistant manager conduct the first interviews, who don't really know all of the
Yeah.
policies, procedures.
And we were talking about that. They don't have the history. They might not have that passion of why they're here and doing what they're doing. So they might lack that little bit of zeal.
Yeah,
And some of our best moments of hiring, it's usually like, we have our hiring specialist that would call and be energetic and be like, we cannot wait for you to come in for the interview. You're gonna have Willie a while. He's gonna be giving you the interview. And then Willie is like 17 years with the company, full of passion, dials in the group interview and just
moved
really
here
hits
from
it.
Arizona. Yeah,
Yeah, moved from Arizona. Then you have Justin Mabry does the final interview, and it's like that was the best hiring experience I've ever
yeah,
had. But on
yeah.
the flip side of that, sometimes we might hit it where it's like the guy who doesn't know much about the processes and the policies and might not have the passion, and that's where we can miss. And then we might lose someone that's great that might have joined the company but maybe didn't.
Now, I would say if you're doing a group interview, you could have that assistant manager with you,
Yes.
right? It could be done with one of our DMs or one of our GMs, but have someone there, your training and development. I always would have someone
Yeah.
with us doing interviews.
You're a little league coach, Grondin, and you have this great saying before you become great at something, you first have to be bad.
Yeah, you
Right?
gotta be.
And so all of us start at the same point with interviewing. All of us do. Where some of us, no one arrives at being great with interviewing. You have to be bad first. And so, like you said, have someone helping you, have someone train you, and then that's where you become great.
Yeah. So just to walk through the process, we know what people want in a company, which
Mhm.
is, remember what they were?
Yes, they want compensation, fair compensation. They
Yeah.
want culture, and they want growth opportunity.
Yeah. You got it.
Paraphrase? Did I paraphrase that? Shoot,
Yeah,
I
you're
know
good.
it was there a second ago.
Yeah, and you could laminate that, put it on the wall. Just remind yourself
Yep,
before you do an interview, make sure we're talking about those things. Remember, we're looking to 2070-10. We're not looking for just the best people we interviewed. We're looking to see if it makes our team better,
better.
right?
That's really
And you're
great.
never going to know that 100%, but hey, I had a good first impression with this person. They'll probably make our team better.
Yeah.
Um, and then remember, you need to be interested in people and compassion for the unemployed. Okay. So now we've gone through the interview process. I want to talk, Dan, about the onboarding. So now we've offered this person, they accepted the job. And now let's talk about, with my view, the first day they come in to fill out their paperwork, which we call day zero.
Mhm.
Okay. It's very important. Hey, come down. We're meeting at 10 o'clock. Don't just brush that off as a paperwork day. This is your
Mhm.
chance to really set the tone of their tenure with us. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember, if you watch football, the NFL coaches, they have that, I have a little image of it if you want to see it. This guy here, he's got
Hmm.
his first 25 plays laid out. Well, we have that same philosophy on day zero up to day 10. We've kind of mapped out what we want to happen for this new employee. And if someone joins you day zero and you're like, just so you know, Dan, if you're my new employee, hey, come in.
Hmm.
I want to make sure you're in the system. Bring your routing number for your check so we can make sure you're getting paid on time. We'll get you on the
Yep.
schedule. All of that stuff will get you in Slack. Everything you have to do day zero. But plan, let's say, Dan, is that a 60-minute meeting, but let's just say, hey, come for 90 minutes, right?
Mm.
Just par off enough time. We want to make sure this is done accurately and right. And that
Sure.
sets the first tone. You have their shirt ready for them when they show up. Their name tag is ready and made. It's a great first experience. They're going to go home and tell their wife, their husband, their friends, their family, oh my, how was your first day? Well, it was great.
Yeah.
I got to meet a bunch of team members. I got a tour around the site. All my paperwork's in. I got my email. I got this Slack going. It's exciting. Now they show up tomorrow for day 1 to day 10. This is a very important system in business, how well we monitor this first 10 days. Okay. And so I think do we have all kinds of checklists and strategies
Oh
for
yeah.
the first day? You
Training
have to fill out
strategies,
cards. Yeah.
who's where. Oh yeah. It's a whole plan.
Yeah, all
Yep.
loading should be done side by side with your manager. Time
Yep.
on the register should be done side, and we want to get as many things done in that first 10 days. There's videos to watch,
Oh yeah.
there's checklists, they're gonna be doing some opening, some closing, but you're all done with another manager or an assistant manager in that first 10 days. Have
Yep.
you ever had an experience where you've gotten a job and they're like, they forget you're coming in and they're like,
Hmm.
HR's done a meeting till 10 and you're like sitting there for 45 minutes doing nothing,
Yeah.
or you show up
So
and they forget you're
yeah.
there. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No, you're
but
fine.
there's
No, you're
a
good.
guy in one of our sites. I showed up and I met him and I was like, hi, Anthony, nice to meet you. He's like, my name's Steve. I'm like, okay, why are you wearing Anthony's shirt? And why is the
Yeah.
shirt so big on you? He's like, I don't know, it's the shirt they gave me. And I go and talk to the
Yeah.
manager. Oh, that's Anthony. We fired him a few weeks ago, and that's the only shirt we had. And
Oops.
it's so disrespectful.
Yeah.
Hey, we care so much about you. Here's a shirt from a guy we fired. I know it's a
Yeah.
couple sizes too big. How does that make the new employee feel?
Yeah.
Valued?
No way.
No.
No way. It just, I think sometimes we forget that these are relationships. Like, I don't know, you wouldn't treat
Yeah.
your girlfriend on the first date like how, without being intentional, without showing her the best time, like whatever it might look like. And that's the same thing with relationships, like with this. It's like just because they accepted the job doesn't mean that they're going to be with us for the next year or 2 years. So how we treat them in the beginning, it sets the tone for the future.
Yeah. And
That's a
this
little
first
date.
10 days,
That's a little dating. What's tricks and tips for you guys. So just so you know, write that down.
a little bonus pro
Yeah, this
tip.
little little side guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so that first 10 days statistically is very, very important for them to feel comfortable and confident in the job. And then the next 30 days is kind of repeating what we learned in the first 10 days, but now by yourself,
Mm.
right? And with constant coaching. So that first 30 to 60 days is very important. If that something happens from 60 to 90 days, so in that first 3 months, employee and you just see cracks in the armor. You see them not really appreciating the job because now they've gotten a couple paychecks. They know what the job is. Feel free at that point, if you don't think it's a good fit, to cut them out. I do not mind if people leave in that first 3-4 months, but after 4 months, they should be exposed to the culture. They should know exactly what we're doing. They should have had enough days in the pit, days loading, days on the register. They should have an idea of who we are as a company. We have a very, very low turnover of people who've been employed with us from 6 months on versus the first 6 months. And it's okay. We know people need to come in and learn the company, learn the business. It's not for everybody. We know it's a hard job, but for the ones who like it, we want them to stay for a long time.
Absolutely. Love that.
Let me share, Dan. Let's switch. So now we know the system. We're okay with people leaving. I like this idea here. And it says, get the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus. So if you know someone who's just not a good fit in that first 6 months, we need to get them off the bus. And then we got to get the right people in the right seats. So now your job as a manager is to find out what's the right seat for people. So maybe it's sales, maybe it's management, maybe it's working morning shifts, working evening shifts, or maybe they're a weekend crew. Like, what's the right seat for people? And if some manager came up to me when I was 20 and said, hey, what's the right seat for you? I really need you to be thinking, where do you want to be in the organization? You know, Dan, you told us early on, and we said, okay, I know you want to be in training and development, but what did we tell you? We don't have a job for that today.
Wasn't there yet.
Yeah. And so, and H had the same conversation. Like, we don't have that job today, but we knew what you wanted to do. But in the meantime, keep learning management, keep learning being a DM, keep learning sales, whatever that looked like in your career. And Justin was the same way. We didn't have a regional manager job when we started. We have a one-site manager, right? And we have a two-site manager. And so I can go through the list of people, Vince's job, of people who started here, but keep asking that question, what's the right seat for you? And work with your manager, your GM, your DM to figure what that position is, because they know what jobs need to be done in the future.
Because then it gets really special, Grondin, when people get on the right seat of the bus, then they are no longer dragging to work. They're no longer like kind of just like, this is just work today. You know, they are shot out of a rocket because they're in their passion. They're doing what they love to do. They're doing what they're great at. And so you're right. Find the right people to be on the bus, get rid of the people that are wrong for the bus, and then get the right people in the right seat of the bus. Is really, really cool.
And that's your job as a new employee, and it's our job as managers and developers of people.
Yep, I love that.
Dan, two more things, then we can wrap it up. But the number one reason, so now these people are working for you as a manager. We'll just throw these in because it's part of this culture we have. But the reason people leave an organization, Dan, the number one reason is because their manager. People don't leave an organization, they leave their manager, they fire their manager. Okay. So if we see a lot of people leaving a certain store, we're going to dig deep. Why is that? What's happening? What's changed? Right. It's okay that people leave, but if we have a lot of people leaving, it's probably the manager's not investing back into their staff. Is that what you found out?
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to make sure that's out there for us. The number one reason people leave is their manager. And then
the evidence would also be on the other side of that. People that stay for a long time, it's because of the culture, it's because of the leadership. Southeast Military, I want to do a shout out for those guys. They've had a lot of the original crew. They've had like people there for like 3 years now, and assistant managers, site managers, and they've all risen in the ranks because of this culture that Josh Martin and the team, Willie, has put together, and other great leaders that have put this culture together. And it's like, so it can be on both sides of it. They leave quick or they stay for a long time. That's awesome.
And the same in Oklahoma, Jay moves out here from Arizona, and all of a sudden Andy's going and Whitney's going and Tony's going, and it's it's going. It's like, why are you guys going? They're like, I'm just following Jay.
I'm just going with Jay. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, I know, that's sweet.
You know, and Jay was the same way. Craig's like, do you want to go to Oklahoma? He's like, I'd love to. Where's Oklahoma at again? Like, didn't even care. But he's like, I just want to work under and be with Craig. So that's the idea of management. Okay. And then we'll just share one more screen and we can wrap it up if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
So this is pretty impactful. I know we've talked about it before, but
Mm,
three things your employees want to know. So now you're trying to build this culture. Does my manager like me? Yes or no? And I just, well, how do you know if someone likes you? Right? They call you, they check in on you, they want to spend time with you, they ask you about your weekend. If something's going on in your life that's not good, they're asking, man, how's your mom? I heard your kid
mm,
was sick, right? If something was exciting going on, how was the kindergarten, graduation? Like they're excited about your life. That's how you know someone likes you. And so if your staff asked that question, what would they say? Does my manager like you? Right?
mm. Yeah.
You have a thought on that, Dan? No.
No, that's no.
Okay.
I'm agreeing. I'm full agreement. It's good.
And then another thing that these employees are asking is, can my manager help me? Can he help me with what? Can he help me advance in my career?
Yeah,
Can he
it's
help
good.
me learn about maintenance and repairs? Can he help me learn about hiring and interviewing? Can he help me learn to read financials? Whatever skill you need, you're going to ask that question is, can my manager help me? And hopefully the answer is yes, right? And then the final thing is, can I trust my manager? And those are deep conversations, but I don't know what that would look like in your world. But I always think, man, if I tell my manager something that's nervous or sensitive, what are they going to do with it, right? Or
Yeah.
something I'm insecure with, what's my manager going to do with something? My wife and I are like, hey, there's moments in your kids' lives where they're going to open up their hearts and tell you something, and then it's what you do in that moment. Are you going in there to rearrange their heart, or just be with and be present? So be
Yes.
aware of these things. Does my manager like me? And we ran into a high level manager one time. He's no longer with us, but we said, you get a lot of phone calls. And he goes, I get a tremendous amount of phone calls. I go, how do you feel? He's like, it drives me crazy. It bugs me. And then we turned and we asked Willie later in the week, hey, do you get a lot of phone calls? And Willie's like, oh my gosh, I get so many phone calls. I go, how do you feel about that? And he goes, I love it. It means my people need help. I'm there to serve. And
Mm,
people took my phone calls when I was learning. And so it's not only does Willie like his staff, not only can he help his staff, but they could trust him to call and say, hey, I don't know how to do something. And he's just going to walk them through it, besides making them feel bad or insecure. And so
mm.
I love those three words. It's can does he like me? Can he help me?
Help me
And
and trust.
trust me.
That's good. That's really good.
So we covered a lot there, Dan. We went from what people want in a job to how to interview to how to vet them out to see if they're the right candidate, to
And even
onboarding them.
and even vetting yourself. Like, how are you presenting the message? How are you presenting? I don't know. It's like bait. Like, are you showing are you showing off that this company is a great one to be a part of, or are you lackluster? Are you more like just indifferent? And then you're trying to go recruit people. You're only going to recruit people that are like you, and so you're only going to attract those people that are similar to you. And so, no, we covered a lot of information, but I think ultimately, I would hope that anybody watching this video, or wanting to gain experience in this is one of the core fundamental practices and tools and skills that we can equip you with to becoming a better manager, to grow in the company, is to have this great supporting cast, because you will never grow unless your team is growing with you and hoisting you up to become a better leader. You'll never grow. And so, and that all starts with how you recruit and how you hire. And that's yeah, it's a powerful message, but it's also
But one of
simple.
the neat things, if you have people coming up through your training and then going off to run their own site or moving and opening up new territories for us,
Yeah.
that's a testament to you. That's not,
Oh
don't
yeah.
ever look at that as bad. It's like that's a kudos to you. That's a
It's a feather. It's a feather in the
yeah,
cap.
out of
Yeah.
your cap, man. Your guy's well trained. And the best thing to have is have him leave you and then go work for a new territory. And the DM's like, wow, who trained you? Amazing.
Yeah. And
Right.
also, our hope in this too is, like what we said, career growth. That any one of you on this call that might be hearing this video, that we hope, our greatest hope is that you get skills like this, and even if you move on to a new company one day, that you will be able to use these tools for moving on for years to come. Because this idea of recruiting, hiring, evaluating talent will never go out of style. Like, this thing
No.
is going to be you'll use this tool for the rest of your life as a leader. So thank you, Grondin, for sharing this with us, and thank you for pouring it out. And we're excited to to hopefully get something from this. And I would encourage all of you, just get something from this video. I know it's a long one, probably 20 something minutes, but if you gather one thing from this, make sure to hold on to it and use it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank
See
you.
you.
See ya.